This changes everything we know about the Broncos. Going into week 2 of the season, there has been some major developments in the division of the AFC West and a lot of unexpected outcomes that have really kind of changed the entire vibe. It has shifted just overall how people are perceiving these teams in the AFC West and the Broncos in particular and their chances to finally get that division crown back from the Chiefs. I'm Sebastian with Broncos Digest. Welcome back, everybody. I am really, really excited to talk about this because I really want to break down what people are talking about regarding the Broncos and their chances and overall how week 1 went for all teams in the AFC West and then what this means going forward and how will they stack up against these teams who are where it's not going to be easy. This is the bloodbath of the AFC West that a lot of people were hyping up the back in 2022. Remember when the Raiders got Devontae Adams? There was supposed to be that connection with Derek Carr. The Chargers had a lot of different big free agency moves like Khalil Mack. I can't remember. There were other guys that were that they had gotten to, but a lot of big free agent moves were happening during that offseason. The Russell Wilson thing was the big one too. And people were picking the Broncos to go to the Super Bowl because of that. They felt like they were a quarterback away. They were pulling a Rams and a Buccaneers to get their guy, and it just didn't work out. And things kind of slowed down after that regarding just the NFL making these big trades to get their guy, their quarterback. And now they've gone back to drafting and developing guys, which is a bit more fun in my opinion, especially since we have our guy in Bo Nix, and now it's about winning games, letting him get that experience, but also letting him make mistakes with a great defense to kind of back him up. And so overall, we're going to be talking about just how people are perceiving these teams right now. And just what they're saying around the league. So Frank Schwab from Yahoo Sports had to say the AFC West won't be like the AFC East for a couple of decades when the Patriots were undeniably great and the rest of the division was absolutely incompetent. The Chargers and Broncos were playoff teams last season, should be very good again, and are legitimate threats to Kansas City's streak of 9 straight division titles. I completely agree with his sentiment here. The Broncos were struggling a bit against some of the good playoff teams last year. They got swept by the Chargers. Especially the second game against the Chargers last year was particularly disappointing because they were in control of much of that game. Then the free kick happened and all that garbage. But overall, the Broncos finally got to sweep them after really struggling against the Raiders for no real good reason. Chiefs, no one wants to talk about that field goal block game. They should have won that one. And then there was the game where we just played their backups and shut them out. So things are still kind of wishy-washy regarding the Broncos' chances in the division and winning those divisional games. We know we can beat the Raiders, but now the Raiders are looking a lot different with Brady as one of their owners and Spy Tech. They have their new general manager. So they've kind of revamped things. Devin White all of a sudden is coming alive in week 1 for them, leading their team in tackles. Ashton Denty, major pickup. They had a really good draft, just getting some offensive linemen, a receiver, and then they got Amari Cooper and he retired. So anyway, but we'll be talking about all that stuff. But the fact is, the Raiders aren't someone to be ignored either. I think every single team here is going to be very competitive. And, the Raiders started off with a win just like the Broncos and just like the Chargers did. The only one who doesn't have a win are the Chiefs. And it's just really, really exciting to live in this time finally. Mahomes, after that loss to the Chargers, had to say, we have to be better from the get-go. We can't just expect to come back and win every single game. Teams are too good in this league, so this will be a big lesson for us. It's funny thinking about the heroics, like the magic, the devil magic, as some were saying, is wearing off a little bit. Just because last year every single game it felt like they were playing, something crazy happened, something that was pretty lucky would happen. I in the end was I was worried about the three-peat because when it came down to clutch situations in fourth quarters, if it was a close game, you knew the Chiefs were going to win because they had the intangibles, they had the experience, they have Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, and Chris Jones. And even though Travis Kelce is definitely in his washed era at this point, those pieces were really all they needed. Trent McDuffie is another really good player for them, but it was frustrating because a lot of us Broncos fans know the Chiefs don't really have the roster that they're propped up to be. Veach, their general manager, is like heralded as like one of the best general managers. I disagree with that, not just because I dislike the Chiefs, but because I don't think he really puts together that good of rosters. I think he has really, really good pillars that have turned into some all-time greats, obviously, that have brought them to 5 different Super Bowls. 2 of them they got blown out, but who's counting? And but it's frustrating because they're not a complete team. The receiver room has been a mess for a while now. Now, obviously, Rashee Rice, very talented and young, but keeps getting himself into trouble. He's in the middle of a 6-game suspension right now, which will definitely cause troubles for them. Xavier Worthy just got hurt because Travis Kelce wasn't looking where he was going, and so now they'll be relying on like Hollywood Brown as like their wide receiver 1 for the next few weeks. And a washed Travis Kelce, and an O-line that, they're starting a rookie at left tackle who, granted, was a very good prospect and shouldn't have fallen as far as they did in the round 1. But the rest of the O-line is still like false starting, having a lot of mental penalties. And it feels like the refs, especially in the Chargers game overseas, they were calling it. Now, will they call those penalties when they're in Arrowhead? I don't know. And I don't want to, come off as a sore loser or anything like that. I will not blame the refs for a win or loss on any game. I mean, we'll complain about refs. We'll always say something was a good or bad call, but you can't say in the end that the refs decided a game. The play almost always decides the game. And so Mahomes was doing his heroics, though. That throw where he was parallel to the ground, it might be one of the greatest throws I've ever seen. And he had that 4th down, long bomb that kept them in the game. It was just that Herbert was better. Herbert was better in this game. He completely outplayed Mahomes, and the Chargers really, when it mattered the most, they made the plays, and it was really impressive because I wasn't expecting that. I may have done I made a bet that involved me eating some soil because I didn't think the Chiefs would lose. So anyway, I would still do it again just to make sure that the Chiefs lose every week. Eagles coming up this week for them, so there's no guarantee that they will get back to 500. There's a real possibility they go 0-2, which would be glorious. Jordan Davis will be playing in that game, so that'd be really interesting. 0-2 Chiefs, we've dreamed of stuff like this, so maybe it'll. Obviously, I don't think it'll happen because I'm too scarred from picking against the Chiefs, but golly, do I hope it does happen. Anyway, moving on, the Chiefs aren't the only ones in this division, even though sometimes it feels like that's all the only ones who get talked about. Eric Williams, NFL reporter from Fox Sports, had to say, for now, Herbert's stellar play against the Chiefs has vaulted him into the MVP conversation, according to DraftKings. Herbert was one of the biggest movers, improving from plus 2,000 in Week 1 to plus 1,200 this week, as he seeks to become the first Chargers player since LaDainian Tomlinson to win MVP award since 2006. I mean, Herbert was outstanding. I really have nothing but praise for what he did in that game. It was probably the best game of his career. He's played some great games in the past, and he had one of the best rookie seasons of all time. But ever since then, he's been kind of made fun of as the what if man, like where he'll win some good regular season games. Come playoff time, I think he's only been there twice. He's lost both time. One in an excruciating comeback win that the Jaguars had against them, where they were up, I think, 27-0. So, we always get to clown on the Chargers for that. And then last year, that embarrassing loss to the Texans, where Herbert had played one of the worst games of his career. And so now people are like saying, okay, Herbert's not that guy. He's very talented, but when the team needs him the most, he falls flat. This game against the Chiefs, was his statement saying, no, I'm still here. I'm still that guy, and I'm going to be, someone to be reckoned with for a long time still in this division. So it's like, man, us Broncos fans are like, okay, we got to deal with Mahomes and Justin Herbert, Andy Reid and Jim Harbaugh. Like, give us a break. We're doing our best to call ourselves out of the dirt, out of this hole. And that article that we talked about earlier, they're so right that the talent is not the same in terms of, and just the organizations aren't the same as the AFC East during the Patriots' 2 different dynasties. Or just if you want to call it a 20-year dynasty, feel free. It's those organizations were constantly falling on their faces to try and find a way to escape the Patriots' shadow, which they never did. Whereas this time around, yes, the Chiefs have won 9 straight AFC West championships. That is one of the best of all time, obviously, and they're going for records right now. They're going for their 10th straight this year. But it feels like the moves that these teams are making, the Raiders are now being run pretty well. The Broncos, the Chargers, they all seem like they're not working together, but they're working individually as good organizations to build themselves up, prop themselves up to be competitors with not just the Chiefs but each other. Because just like the AFC North or the NFC North, those divisions are just bloodbaths because they have so much talent, so many good teams and well-run organizations. You never know who's going to win any week, which is great football and great entertainment. Doesn't make it very fun for the rest of us, where it's like it'd be nice to have a gimme win against a divisional opponent sometimes, which we had against the Raiders last year. But everything else, it's like it's just going to be nail biters, and we got to expect it. We got to get ready for it. We have the best defense in the division, but that doesn't mean squat if our offense can't do anything. So anyway, props to the Chargers. So here is the betting odds right now in terms of the MVP. Josh Allen at number 1, Lamar Jackson 2, Jordan Love number 3, and Jaden Daniels number 4, Patrick Mahomes still at number 5, Joe Burrow number 6, and then Justin Herbert at number 7. So obviously Bo Nix nowhere in near there, but that's because he had a terrible week 1. Still won, that's what matters, but it's Herbert wasn't even really considered after the terrible playoff performance, and just from this, he's already vaulted into the number 7 overall odds to win NFL MVP this year. We'll see if he's able to continue this streak, or not streak, but continue the good vibes from that week 1 win back into the States. We will see. I'm not very confident because Herbert's consistency has been a major issue and major criticism that a lot of NFL pundits have spoken about. So just wanted to bring that up. And then regarding the Broncos, according to Eric Dalala from Denver Broncos lead writer, the Broncos will have the ability to take a step forward as an offense in Week 2 against the Colts as Denver aims to earn its first 2-0 starts since 2021. Sean Payton emphasized the importance of winning the turnover battle to secure a win, as teams were 1-8 in Week 1 if they lost the turnover battle. The Broncos were the lone exception, but Payton indicated consistently traveling that path was unsustainable. I completely agree. It's not somewhere that you really want to be. You don't want to be relying on your defense on every week to get you out of jams. It's just not going to be something that you can get one of the top seeds in the AFC playoff run by doing that, because it's just football. I mean, the teams are getting better and better. As Mahomes was saying, that you can't expect to get bailed out of every game. You have to play complementary football, do as well as you are on offense as you are on defense, and you will win a lot of games doing that. Now, it's not going to happen every week, but at the same time, as long as you're winning, that's what matters. And I like that Sean Payton's taking accountability for that. That listen, we survived being the one team that won a game by after losing the turnover battle, but that should not be the case. That should not be the standard. The standard should be getting a bunch of turnovers on defense and then staying relatively clean on offense, mistake free. That's going to pay dividends and really do a lot of great stuff for the future of the team and the season in general. So it is interesting just to think about. Okay, it feels like in terms of performances from the 4 AFC West teams, some people may be the lowest on the Broncos because of Bo Nix and the offensive performance they put on against a bad Titans team. But at the same time, that defense is so good, you never want to go into like a Broncos game and say, oh yeah, we got this. That's just not going to happen. That defense is too good, and the offensive play calling from Sean Payton, he has quite the track record. He did not call his best game against the Titans, but that does not mean he's going to be bad or play calling bad for the rest of the season or the rest of his career. People have bad games. People have slip-ups. It's okay. Now, if it becomes a consistent problem, we'll have a discussion about that later. But that's not really what the case is right now. You just move on. You shrug it off. That's how you win, is really letting, you make comebacks by pretending like those mistakes didn't even happen. You move on to what the present is and what your present situation and team that you're facing is. You can't just focus on what happened in the past, or you're going to get dragged behind way too far. So I overall, everything that the Broncos have been saying so far have been really good stuff. So Lastly, what I want to talk about in just terms of how people are perceiving the AFC West is the rankings, the NFL power rankings going into week 2. There's some good ones to talk about. Vegas was one, or it was the team that was considered last of the 4 AFC West teams. They are ranked at number 21 out of the 32 teams. They did rise from number 25 in the preseason because they had an impressive win against the New England Patriots. And by the second half, it was clear that the Raiders were the better team. And here it's written by Ryan McFadden. Devin White came to Las Vegas on a mission to prove he can still play at a high level. His Raider debut was an encouraging performance as he had a team-high 11 tackles and a pressure. The former Tampa Bay Buccaneer was effective in the run game, collecting 8 run tackles and a pair of run stuffs. Normally, White is the Raiders' weak side linebacker, but when Landon Roberts sprained his elbow, he played snaps at middle linebacker as well. Yep, Devin White had a very strong performance. I think just in general, the Raiders were very impressive as a team in general. Like Ashton Genty, though, I don't want to get too excited, but like he only had like 40 yards and like 21 carries. Now, the Patriots defense very well could just be really good, and that's why. But at the same time, that's a rough stat line. He got a touchdown, but at the same time, like, was it worth all those carries? Felt like they were stat padding him like they were in Boise State. I know there's some Broncos fans who really like Ashton Genty, but he's on a division rival now, so we gotta talk our trash. But overall, Pete Carroll really seems to be coaching them pretty well. Brock Bowers might be dealing with some injuries, so we'll see how that affects them in the upcoming Monday night game against the Chargers. But it's. They have a limited supply of weapons, and Brock Bowers is obviously their best one, unless Ashton Genty has a crazy season. So it'll be interesting to see if they're playing with or without him that game, and how limited he'll be, and just how they're able to stack up against the Chargers, who are easily the most hyped up team right now in the AFC West. But they're ranked number 21 right now, which I think is relatively fair. But you guys let me know if you think you agree with where that ranking is. The Denver Broncos were ranked the 3rd best team in the AFC West at number 11, though, so it's quite the jump, 10 spots up. And they had the best newcoming performance as Talanoa Hufanga. Jeff Legwold had to say, when the Broncos signed Hufanga to a 3-year, $39 million deal, Coach Sean Payton said he wanted first responders like him in Denver's defense. And Hufanga made such a big impression in the offseason that his teammates elected him as team captain in his first season with the Broncos. In a sea of quality performances for the Broncos defense Sunday, Hufanga had one of the best days with a team-high 10 tackles to go with a forced fumble. He played every snap as the Broncos held the Titans to 133 total yards. They were impressive. They were impressive. That defense really was showing me something. Overall, Cam Ward was hyped up for a reason. He was putting on good balls to his receivers. But, there were some drops in there. There's a reason why that they're not a very good team. Calvin Ridley didn't look very good. But that Denver defense, 6 sacks. They were really doing a lot of pressures and really making Cam Ward feel uncomfortable, making that offensive line just feel like they can't hold up at all if they fell out of their depth. Now, but Hufanga, as a newcomer, really, really impressive stuff, and I can't wait to see more from him as we go forward. But then we're going to the 3rd best team. So the NFL rankings actually had the Chargers as the 3rd best team in the AFC West at number 9, so only 2 above the Broncos. They had their best newcoming performance being from Keenan Allen, which is funny hearing as a newcomer. He was only away for a year on the Bears. But they said that Keenan Allen is technically a newcomer, but he spent his first 11 seasons with the Chargers before the team traded him to the Bears last season following a contract dispute. He finished with 7 catches for 68 yards and a touchdown, which came on an out route that left him wide open. The score was the 60th of his career with the Chargers, making him the 3rd player to reach that mark in franchise history. His game comes from Chris Rim. We all know that the Chargers were really, really good, and it was surprising to see Keenan Allen play as well as he did in that game. Hopefully, that's not a sign of things to come in the games where we face where they face the Broncos. But it's good to know that he still has that juice and that he used that against the Chiefs of all things. And of course, that only leaves one team left. That's the Kansas City Chiefs. They are still ranked as the best team in the AFC West according to NFL Power Rankings. They have them at the 5th best team in the league. And the best new coming performance was Josh Simmons, their new left tackle that we briefly talked about earlier. The Chiefs received a solid performance from their first-round pick in his debut as the new blindside protector for quarterback Patrick Mahomes. Simmons didn't surrender a sack despite at times battling Khalil Mack, the Chargers' best edge rusher. The biggest issue is that Simmons committed 2 false start penalties. Moving forward, the Chiefs would be wise to use him often in running plays as he showed his athleticism in a few snaps last week. This comes from Nate Taylor. I don't know how I feel about this. I mean, like, you're committing false start penalties. You were struggling a bit with Khalil Mack. That's not exactly, but maybe they didn't have that many good choices to go from. And I really don't know how I feel about the Chiefs being ranked above the Chargers at this point. I felt like the Chargers thoroughly outplayed the Chiefs in that game, just looking back at the highlights and just, I did watch the whole game, and it felt like overall they're just getting like legacy points at this point. Oh, it's the Chiefs. They haven't lost 3 games in a row under the Mahomes Andy Reid era, which is nuts. But they have a chance this weekend. That means they would be the Super Bowl week 1 and week 2. But won't happen until it actually happens. And anyway, it's I understand it, and that's why I'm picking the Chiefs to win this weekend, is because I have that unfortunate respect. It's like a begrudged respect for the Chiefs and just what they've accomplished. But at the same time, there's a lot of people there's a lot of chatter about, are the Chiefs on the downfall? We did see a bit of a skid for the Chiefs at the beginning of the season after the 2020 year where they got blown up by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They started that year 3-4. There was a game where they got beaten by the Bills, and then they got embarrassed by the Titans that year. That was when Vrabel was still coaching them. So I'm still going to be very wary regardless if they win or lose this upcoming weekend. But, I'm rooting for the Eagles, and that I'm hoping that we beat the Colts and have a 2-game lead on the Chiefs early on this season. And I know all Broncos fans would be thrilled with that aspect. We haven't, like we mentioned before, we haven't gone 2-0 since 2021 when Teddy Bridgewater was our quarterback. And it would be really cool to actually see just getting into like that winning streak early on, because we had some struggles at the beginning of last year where our defense wasn't as polished as it is now, and Bo Nix was still figuring things out. I'm hoping Bo will have a great rebound game against the Colts. They show that they are capable of having a great performance against the Miami Dolphins, so they shouldn't be coming into this game with the Broncos as a big surprise. We'll be talking about that in another video about the keys to victory against the Colts, but overall, the Broncos are set up for success and for a playoff run, even with all the craziness and all the competition in the division. Now I want to bring it to you guys, or ask to you guys, what do you think about all this chatter about the AFC West? Do you think that the Chiefs are on the downfall? Do you think that the Chargers and Herbert should be favored for MVP and the best team in the AFC West currently? Let me know in the comments below. Are you scared of the Raiders at all? Do you think that they are on the rise? And then just overall your thoughts about how the Broncos will be doing against the AFC West this year. Let me know what your record prediction is against the AFC West. I'm thinking maybe 3-3, 4-2. I'm being generous to the other teams, but at the same time, we're still young. We're still trying to figure out what our identity is, even though we're awesome defensively. But now, just let me know in the comments below. We'll start that conversation, and stay tuned for more videos, and I'll see you then.